Hello, everyone. I should take off my camera cover. And welcome to this week's edition of the VHS public meeting. As always, a reminder that this meeting is being recorded, will go on YouTube for posterity, and that we have a code of conduct which we suggest everyone should abide by. Suggest is probably a weak word for that. And that's all I got for intro. So let's jump into our agenda for the new folks who are on board. We have an agenda document that we'll be following along with. Can somebody paste the link to the doc into our chat for anyone who doesn't have it right now? Thank you, Steph. First thing we like to do after our introduction is to go around and do some welcoming, some introductions of our new attendees. So new folks who are here, if you would like to introduce yourselves, please do so. If not, that's entirely up to you. I don't want to force you.
I'll lurk for the time being.
Okay, lurking, good. We're all set then. So this meeting is to talk about the public initiatives that are happening around the VHS project, what is happening in the world of development. So let's start there. Let's talk about recent features. Who wants to talk about what's been committed into the project recently? Anybody?
I think that's my cue, since Andrew's not here. Has he come to any of these yet?
He's come to one or two, but he keeps missing them.
Anyway, I think the major update since our last public meeting was the VHS codebase has been refactored to move a lot of the packages that define the core architecture of VHS into a single package called core, actually. So contributors who wish to build out new plugins or modules for VHS no longer have to include 3 or 4 different packages in their code base to link against all of the architecture of VHS. It's all now in one place. And as a bonus, we also have architecture docs now that sort of explain how all of those pieces work and how they fit together, with a little bit of guidance for developers who are new to the project. And, both of those things are committed and live and ready to use.
Awesome. That should be good. That'll be great for helping people get onboarded, I think. Any other recent developments in the project that anybody else wants to bring up? Okay, I'll take that as a no. The project board. I'm gonna pull up the project board and share my screen. Maybe I'm gonna pull up the project board and share my screen. Come on. There we go. Sure. There it is. Okay. So, is that big enough? Can everybody see it? Maybe.
I can see it.
Zoom. Okay, so on the project board, this is what we were talking about last time. we wanted to revisit the image build mechanism. Was that covered already? Or did anybody put any work into that? If not, it stays on the board.
I think there's been a little bit of progress from Brad and Andrew on that, but I think it's just in process still.
Okay. So we can come back to that. The next thing was getting semantic versioning. We wanted to cut V101. It was on me to build a release notes process, and I failed at doing that. So actually, let's put another card up here. Release notes process. So that's on me. Once we get that, then we can cut our 010 release, and we'll be ready to rock and roll with potentially a release schedule. This is actually, I'm going to move this to in process. And this one as well, I think. We still don't have enough people that we really need to worry about SIGs, but it is something that we want to keep in mind, that as we continue to grow, what people are interested in and what parts they want to talk about. How we organize that is going to be important. In the beginning, I suspect that they will probably just be subsections of this call. But if, as we hope, we get large numbers of people contributing and large numbers of people interested, that might potentially separate out into separate calls. We had talked about tags for issues. And we had bantered around the idea of potentially separating out good first issue between a good first issue that you can handle alone and a good first issue that you can handle if you have a mentor and someone to guide you through the process, for being able to work in the code base. First of all, what are people's thoughts on that? And secondly, does anybody want to own the tag creation and identification? Don't all speak up at once.
I think the idea is sound of a
Okay.
good first issue and a good first issue, and will point you in the right direction at least. Obviously, it needs to be more succinct than that.
Does anyone have any suggestions for naming? Going on, lazy consensus. Good first issue with mentoring, with guidance.
Just good first issue.
So Stefan, you're voting against having a distinction between good first issue and good first issue, but we'll help you out. Or are you saying we should help everybody out?
We should help everybody out, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I think just get people started and don't like overstructure everything in the beginning.
It's fair.
Just get people. If we have enough helpers and hands, then we can start adding more structure. That's
Okay.
Just point them somewhere and let them loose.
Okay. That is completely valid. And I mean, I think we were planning to use it as sort of a flag to say whether or not you could tackle an issue with or without help. But I like the idea of just getting everybody involved all the time right now.
Yeah. I'm sold.
Okay. Counter argument accepted. Good job, Stefan.
No, it's my fault, right? When it's not working.
Okay. I'm going to move that over to ideas then. And actually, I'm going to edit that as well. because we don't need it right now. And that brings us to the renaming effort on the board. I'd like to start that either this week or next week to start collecting possible names. It is currently the 22nd. Yeah, 22nd of February. And I would ideally like to have, with a couple weeks of polling, be done with the polling aspect by the first week of April. That's the plan. We need more people involved to help contribute names and to help with the voting. Any thoughts, comments, questions? I think we'll get a document out or some sort of form out this week so that people can start contributing names. What do folks think? Would you rather see the existing names, or would you rather go in blind with naming possibilities? Because we could do it in a Google Doc where everyone can see all the previous suggestions, or we could do it in some sort of form where you can't see the previous suggestions. I'll give folks a moment to think about that.
What about, this could be a bad idea, but what about if we like make it a form where you fill in your own, and then at the end of the survey, you can let people see other people's answers? That way we don't bias people into things that have already come up.
Okay. Well, that's a good idea. I'm going to put that over in the meeting minutes. Renaming effort form for blind entry. Show all results at the end. There's no reason people can't come back and say, oh, I had another idea. Let me suggest that.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Cool. That's how we'll try and structure it then. I like that suggestion. And that brings us to the end of our to-do list, which is all we really have in the project board. So let's talk about, so I turn off sharing. Let's talk about the roadmap, which is next on the agenda. What do we have coming up for project features? Who's working on what? Anybody want to call anything out here? So quiet today. Okay. Roadmap is boring apparently today. Once again, we need more people on these calls. That brings us to our open discussion. We can come back to roadmap if somebody comes up with something. Slack is open now. We fixed that problem. And by open, I mean I created a form so that people can actually request a sign up to get into the Slack, because opening a Slack is not actually a feature of Slack. Such is life. But the link to the Slack sign up is in the document. And in fact, maybe I'll put that at the top of the sign up form. I will put that at the top of our meeting notes.
We also need to put it into the README of the repository, right?
Yes, we should.
Yes, I can do a quick
Thank you.
PR to do that today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On that note, have we been adhering to our contributor guide rules about PRs? I noticed that a few have been committed, but I haven't been paying too much attention to them. Have we been doing what is outlined in the contributor documentation and having, I believe we had outlined 1 reviewer for docs changes and 2 reviewers or 2 LGTMs for any code changes. Is that something we've been doing? Or have we just sort of been glossing over that?
I think we've been doing that most of the time.
Okay.
I can't guarantee every single PR hit that mark, but I think the majority of the PRs have hit that mark since the policy went into effect.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. That is good to hear. I think that is all we've got on the agenda for today. We're into this open discussion and Q&A. By the way, for everyone who is not on the Slack and wants to join us over there, when you join us, the channel to find us in is labeled VHS to be renamed, because we'll rename the channel when we rename the project. Anybody else got anything? Are we ready to stop recording?
I'd be, Amir, not to put you on the spot, but I'd be curious to hear about how you found out and what you're interested in and what you think VHS might help you do.
I saw an announcement, and I'm trying to remember where I saw the announcement. And that's a really good question, Steph, because I guess you're asking how I got engaged so you can draw other people in. But the announcement, I think, was associated with an event, perhaps a Kubernetes event, but I don't remember exactly when.
Okay.
What's I think important is I don't think people understand that they have a load gen problem. People are starting to. There are 2 worlds. There's kind of the Silicon Valley world, where we see the world in a particular way. Everything's microservices, everything's containers, and Kubernetes is kind of like normal, the way to think about things. And by the way, that's passé because we're moving on to serverless. That's kind of like the weird view along 101 in Silicon Valley. Then the rest of the world is, oh yes, I've heard of Kubernetes and I can do the Google hipster store and bring it up, and I'm just trying to learn, and maybe I have 1 production environment by my best engineers. And it's that group that I think we should be targeting, but they need to understand that reliable load generation is important for them, that if they're going to scale out, and they don't really understand that the problem exists.
That's super insightful. Do you have thoughts on once people realize the problem exists, is it hard to then convince them to try to work on it? Are there barriers to? Sorry, I'm a product manager and now I'm just getting into it, so no, you can shut me down. But I'm just curious if once you find out, is it then worth the effort, or does it also have to be really easy to get started?
I've done. I had a startup before that I sold to Palo Alto Networks. It was called Apparetto, and we started an open source project that failed. It didn't fail because it was a good idea. It failed because we didn't have a governance body around it, and then Google came out with Istio, which was kind of pretty much what we were doing, and then you can't fight against Google. So for this open source effort to succeed, you need to go after the engineers who are curious about the world, who work in this space and are curious about the world. For them, it's not solving a business problem. For them, it's how do I improve my skills and solve a real problem in a way that's public, creates greater good, but also gets recognition for me.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Amir.
I hope it's helpful.
Thank you.
It's super helpful. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining us.
On that note, does anybody else have anything else to say before we stop recording? Okay. I'm going to stop recording. And as always, all these videos are going to be available on YouTube, so you can go back and watch all the previous ones. Thank you all for coming out today. And I hope everyone has a wonderful Monday.